Okay, so I have a challenge for you all, and it's going to be to go outside or go for a walk in your neighborhood if you have one or whatever, and take pictures of geometry, things that have to do with geometry, and send me the photos and tell me, in each photo what it is you see. And if you even have an app, or if you're using like an iPhone or iPad, you can do the markup feature and either write it or draw the shape on there. At the end of this video, I'll show you my examples. But before that, I'm going to review some of the 4th grade geometry terms. But this is not going to be just for 4th grade. I think 5th and 6th graders, I'd love for you to do it too. And then if you have any younger siblings, you could help them, and depending on what grade they are, you could help them find simpler things like just shapes or lines. And they can send it to me as well, or to their teacher, okay? So for 4th grade geometry terms, some of the major ones we talked about. So there is a point, which is a place in space. A line. A line is made up of points, and it ends with arrows because it will go on and on forever. We name lines by using the points. So the name of this line would be line AB, or we could just say AB and put a little line above it. That tells us that is line AB. Okay, there's also a line segment. So line segment is just the area between 2 points. So if we were looking at this line, just the area between A and B would be a line segment. We also name it by the end points. These are called end points. We name it by the end points, so it'd be line segment AB, or we can just say AB, and then we're just going to put a line with no arrows on it. That shows that it's a line segment because there's no arrows. And then lastly, with the lines, there is a ray. So a ray is a place on the line from one endpoint. It has one endpoint, and then the other side keeps going on forever. So it's the combination of a line and a line segment. So if we just looked at from point A and all the way keep going on, that could be a ray. Or we could do from point B, whatever. So this would be ray AB, or you could say AB and then put a ray above it. So only one side has the arrow, and this is the only one that has to correspond. The other ones, we could call this also line segment BA. It doesn't matter which way we do it. The only one that matters which way is on a ray. The end point has to be the first letter. So it has to be ray AB. It's not ray BA in this case. Okay. Then we also learned about some angles. So there are 3 types of angles. There's 4. So a line is actually also an 80-degree angle, which is called a straight angle. So a line is also a straight angle. Straight angle. And it measures 180 degrees. It's like if you were facing this way, facing the left, and then you turned to face this way, you did a 180-degree turn. You didn't turn all the way back around. That'd be 360. You turned from left to the right side. So then there are three other angles. So there's the one right in the middle is a right angle. A right angle is 90 degrees. The measurement is 90 degrees. So angles that are between a straight angle, okay, so then there's an acute angle. So I like to say a cute little angle because it's cute and small. It's smaller than the 90 degrees. So it can be anywhere from 1 degrees to 89 degrees. And then the ones that are bigger than a 90-degree angle would be obtuse. I think that word kind of just makes me think of big. Obtuse. It is more than 90 degrees. So it'd be anywhere from 91 degrees to 179. It wouldn't be 180 because then it would be a straight angle. So we see these angles in shapes. And you also name label angles, kind of like you do lines. You name it by their vertice, where they meet, vertex. And so it would be like angle. This was A, B, C, be angle, A, B, C. Okay, and another thing I forgot to mention about lines. Lines, sometimes in space, they touch. There are intersecting lines. So these two lines intersect, they meet, but they do not these are intersecting lines, so that means they touch. There's another kind of intersecting line called perpendicular. So if two lines touch, they cross each other, and they form a right angle. So this is the right angle. They form a right angle, which I realized I didn't write the names. They form right angles. All of these are right angles, 90 degrees. Then they are called, this is intersecting, perpendicular. And then if they do not touch and will never touch, because remember, lines go on and on forever. So these two lines, if they kept going on and on forever and ever, they would never cross. So they are called parallel. And there's literally sounds like pair of L's, and there's literally a little pair of L's in the word. And L's are parallel because the letter L, they wouldn't ever touch. So parallel lines do not and will not ever touch. Okay, so we need all that information. We need to know about lines, about angles, about intersecting lines, to talk about shapes. So one type of shape that we learned about how to classify, which means how to name, is a triangle. And we learned how to classify them by their angles. You can also classify them by the lengths of their sides, but we didn't get to that. So the most common, if you think of a triangle, you think of something like this, more than likely. This is an acute triangle. because all three of its angles are acute angles. They're less than 90 degrees. Then there is a right triangle. A right triangle has one right angle. And then the other two are acute. And then lastly, an obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle, so one really big angle, and then two acute, two small ones. So all triangles in the whole world have at least two acute angles. If all three are acute, then it's an acute triangle. If you see a right angle in it, then it's a right triangle. If you see a really big obtuse angle, then it is an obtuse triangle. Another thing that we talked about in 4th grade were some polygons. Polygons are shapes that are closed and have angles. So a triangle is a polygon. So, and then we specifically talked about quadrilaterals. The prefix quad, tri means three, because it's three sides. So quad means four. So these are four-sided shapes, like a square. That's more of a rectangle, but a rectangle is also one. Square, rectangle, parallelogram, trapezoid. So a rectangle has four right angles and two sets of parallel sides. So these two lines are parallel. These two lines are parallel. Also has perpendicular lines because where they meet, they form a right angle. And it has two pairs of sides of equal length. So the top and the bottom are the same. If you remember how we tell, we make a little line to say these are the same length. Since these are a different length, I can't just put one because that would mean that they were all the same. They're not. So I can put two on that one. So that shows me these two are the same length and these two are the same length. A square also has four right angles, two pairs of parallel lines, as perpendicular lines, but the difference between a square and a rectangle is all four sides are the same length. Then a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides and these aren't quadrilaterals, but they're polygons. So this one is a hexagon. Not the best drawer, but has six sides of equal length. So my drawing's not the best, but they're all the same length. And then it has six angles. Six angles. And then another one that's pretty common is an octagon. So that would be like a stop sign is an octagon. Okay, so an octagon. Oct means 8, hex means 6. octagon has 8 sides of equal length. And 8 angles. And lastly, we talked about symmetry. Symmetry means that you could fold the shape and both halves of the shape would be the same. They would meet up. So a square has both horizontal and vertical line symmetry. So vertical, up and down. If you folded it, the lines would meet, the edges would meet up. Horizontal is across. If you folded it on that line, the edges would meet up. This is an obtuse angle. It is greater than 90 degrees. The swings have perpendicular lines which form right angles. An acute triangle has 3 acute angles. Here we see parallel lines that do not touch. This is an octagon. An octagon has 4 sets of parallel sides. And 8 angles. And a regular octagon has 8 sides of equal length. This is a right triangle because it has a right angle. The door is a rectangle with 2 pairs of sides of equal length, 2 pairs of parallel lines, 4 right angles, and horizontal and vertical line symmetry.